A gentle dawn light crept through the curtains of the Smith family's cozy living room. Little Lily, their 1-year-old daughter, babbled happily in her playpen, surrounded by an array of colorful toys. In the kitchen, her mother, Sarah, hummed a tune as she prepared breakfast. The morning seemed serene and ordinary, but the family's tabby cat, Whiskers, sensed something was amiss. Perched on the windowsill, Whiskers' emerald eyes were wide with alertness, following every movement outside with an intensity that was unusual even for him. A rustling sound from the bushes near the window caught Whiskers' attention, and his tail flicked anxiously. He jumped down and began pacing back and forth, his gaze never leaving the front yard. Sarah, noticing the cat's strange behavior, called out, "What's got you so worked up, Whiskers?" But the cat paid no heed, his focus unwavering. Lily giggled, her tiny fingers reaching out to grasp a stuffed animal, oblivious to the growing tension. Suddenly, Whiskers let out a low growl, his fur bristling. He darted towards the living room window, his movements quick and deliberate. Just as Sarah was about to investigate, a loud screeching sound pierced the air, startling both mother and child. Sarah rushed to the window, her heart pounding in her chest. Outside, a car had come to a sudden halt at the edge of their front yard, its tires leaving marks on the grass. The driver, a young man with a look of sheer panic on his face, stepped out, waving his arms frantically. Sarah opened the front door, her curiosity mixed with apprehension. "Are you okay?" she called out. The man nodded, breathless. "I almost hit someone," he explained, his voice trembling. "There was a person lurking around, and they darted in front of my car." Sarah's eyes widened as she glanced back at Whiskers, who was now sitting calmly by Lily's playpen, his earlier agitation seemingly vanished. She felt a shiver run down her spine as the realization of potential danger sank in. Determined to understand what had transpired, Sarah made her way to the security camera monitor. As she rewound the footage, her heart raced. The screen flickered to life, revealing the shadowy figure of a person creeping around their house in the early hours of the morning. Sarah's hand flew to her mouth as she watched the intruder inch closer to the living room window, where Lily had been playing. It was then that Whiskers' strange behavior made sense, and Sarah's gratitude for their vigilant feline friend grew exponentially. Sarah's heart thudded as she watched the security footage. The shadowy figure moved stealthily, pausing momentarily to peer through the living room window. It was chilling to think how close this person had come to Lily, and how Whiskers had sensed the danger before anyone else. As Sarah's mind raced, the words of the young man outside echoed in her ears. Someone was lurking around. She quickly called her husband, Mark, to inform him of the situation. Mark arrived home, his face etched with concern. They replayed the footage together, the gravity of the situation sinking in deeper with every passing second. Determined to protect their family, they decided to report the incident to the police. The officer who arrived took their statement seriously, promising to increase patrols in the neighborhood. Sarah handed over the security footage, hoping it would help identify the intruder. Whiskers, now back in his usual spot, watched over Lily with a calm demeanor, as if knowing his job was far from over. Meanwhile, the news of the near accident and the lurking stranger spread through the community. The Smiths' neighbors, concerned for their safety, began to share their own stories of unusual occurrences in recent weeks. It seemed the Smiths weren't the only ones being watched. As the days passed, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves outside sent her heart racing. Mark, ever the pillar of strength, reassured her that they were taking all necessary precautions. They installed additional security measures and remained vigilant, always keeping a watchful eye on their surroundings. One evening, as the family settled in for dinner, Whiskers began to act up again. He paced near the front door, his ears twitching. Sarah and Mark exchanged worried glances, their senses heightened by the recent events. Just as Sarah rose to check, the doorbell rang, startling them. Mark cautiously approached the door, peering through the peephole. A familiar face greeted him, the young man who had almost hit the intruder with his car. He introduced himself as James and explained that he had seen the stranger again, this time near the park. James' visit reignited the Smiths' anxiety, but it also brought a sense of solidarity. Knowing that others in the community were also on high alert provided some comfort. Together, they devised a plan to keep their neighborhood safe, exchanging phone numbers and setting up a group chat to share any suspicious activities. As the Smiths fortified their home and strengthened their bonds with their neighbors, Whiskers continued to patrol the house, ever the vigilant guardian. The family remained hopeful that, with their combined efforts, they could prevent any further danger from looming over their lives. The Smiths' community efforts brought a sense of togetherness, but Sarah couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that lingered. Every night before heading to bed, she would check the security footage, making sure there were no signs of the shadowy figure returning. One evening, while reviewing the footage, something unusual caught her eye. She paused the video and leaned in closer. There, in the corner of the screen, was a fleeting glimpse of the same shadowy figure from before. Her heart pounded as she rewound the footage and watched again, confirming her worst fears. She quickly called Mark, her voice trembling with urgency. Together they watched the footage, their anxiety growing with each passing second. The figure seemed more confident this time, moving with purpose. They could see him peering into windows, seemingly unfazed by the increased security measures. Whiskers, who had been lounging on the sofa, suddenly perked up, his ears twitching. He jumped down and started pacing, mirroring the behavior he had exhibited during the initial incident. Determined to get to the bottom of this, Sarah decided to take a closer look at the security footage from the past week. As she sifted through hours of recording, she noticed a pattern. The figure always appeared around the same time each night, just after midnight. Sarah's mind raced as she pieced together the clues. It was clear that this person had been watching their house for some time, waiting for the right moment to strike. That realization sent a chill down her spine. She couldn't help but think of the potential danger that still lurked in the shadows. Whiskers, sensing her distress, rubbed against her leg, offering a comforting presence. Sarah knew she couldn't let her guard down, not with Lily's safety at stake. As the days turned into weeks, the community remained vigilant. But the intruder's presence weighed heavily on everyone's minds. The neighborhood watch patrolled regularly, and the police kept a close eye on the area. Despite their efforts, the shadowy figure remained elusive, always managing to stay one step ahead. Sarah's sleepless nights took a toll on her, but she refused to let fear control her life. She found solace in the support of her neighbors and the unwavering loyalty of Whiskers. One night, as she prepared to review the security footage once again, Mark suggested they set up additional cameras around the property, hoping to catch a clearer glimpse of the intruder. With the new cameras in place, Sarah and Mark felt a renewed sense of determination. They were determined to protect their home and bring the intruder to justice. Whiskers, ever the vigilant guardian, continued to watch over the family, his presence a constant reminder of the extraordinary bond between humans and their furry companions. As the Smiths braced themselves for whatever lay ahead, they knew they could face any challenge together, drawing strength from the love and loyalty that united them. With the new cameras in place, Sarah and Mark felt a renewed sense of determination to catch the intruder. One quiet evening, as they sat together in the living room, reviewing the latest security footage, Whiskers began to exhibit his usual signs of agitation. His ears twitched, and he let out a low growl, his eyes fixed on the front yard. Sarah's heart raced as she glanced at the monitor. There it was, the shadowy figure moving stealthily around their house. Whiskers bolted towards the front door, his movements deliberate and purposeful. Sarah and Mark exchanged a look of apprehension, then turned their attention back to the screen. The intruder seemed more brazen this time, peering into the windows and trying the door handles. The fear that gripped them was palpable, but they knew they had to remain calm and act wisely. Mark dialed the police, his voice steady despite the anxiety that gnawed at him. As they waited for the police to arrive, they continued to watch the footage, their eyes glued to the screen. Whiskers, ever the vigilant guardian, positioned himself near the front door, his body tense and ready to pounce. The intruder, seemingly unaware of the additional cameras, continued his attempts to gain entry. At one point, he moved closer to the living room window, his face partially illuminated by the faint glow of a street lamp. Sarah felt a surge of anger and protectiveness as she watched the man try to pry open the window. Whiskers, sensing her distress, let out a fierce hiss and clawed at the door. The noise seemed to startle the intruder, who glanced around nervously. Just then, the sound of approaching sirens filled the air, growing louder with each passing moment. The intruder's eyes widened in panic, and he bolted from the window, disappearing into the darkness. Mark and Sarah rushed to the front door, opening it just as the police arrived. Whiskers darted outside, his instincts driving him to pursue the fleeing figure. The officers quickly spread out, searching the area with flashlights and calling out commands. Whiskers' keen sense of direction led him to the edge of the yard, where he stopped and watched intently. Despite their best efforts, the intruder managed to slip away, leaving the Smiths feeling both relieved and frustrated. The police assured them they would continue to patrol the neighborhood and keep an eye out for any suspicious activity. Whiskers returned to the house, his mission incomplete, but his spirit undeterred. Sarah scooped him up and held him close, whispering words of gratitude and praise. In the days that followed, the Smiths remained vigilant, their resolve strengthened by the unwavering loyalty of Whiskers. They knew that, as long as their brave feline protector was by their side, they could face any challenge that came their way. The bond between them grew even stronger, a testament to the extraordinary courage and devotion that had united them in the face of danger. The days that followed were filled with a mixture of relief and lingering apprehension. The neighborhood watch intensified their patrols, and the police remained a constant presence, but the shadowy figure's escape left an unsettling mark on the community. The Smiths received an outpouring of support from neighbors, many of whom brought over meals and offered words of encouragement. Whiskers, the hero of the hour, became a local celebrity, his bravery celebrated by everyone who heard the story. Sarah and Mark took comfort in the solidarity that had formed among their neighbors. The bond between them grew stronger as they shared their fears and hopes, united by a common goal, to keep their community safe. Every evening, they would gather with other families in the neighborhood, discussing any new developments and ensuring everyone remained vigilant. One particularly bright afternoon, as Sarah and Mark sat on their porch with Lily playing at their feet, a car pulled up to the curb. It was James, the young man who had nearly run over the intruder. He stepped out, a determined look on his face. "I think I saw him again," he said, his voice steady, "near the old warehouse on the edge of town." The news sent a ripple of concern through the Smiths, but it also ignited a spark of hope. If they could pinpoint the intruder's whereabouts, they might finally put an end to the fear that had gripped their lives. Sarah and Mark quickly shared the information with the police, who organized a discreet operation to monitor the area. As the investigation unfolded, Whiskers remained ever vigilant, his presence a source of comfort and reassurance. He seemed to sense the family's anxiety, staying close to Lily and keeping a watchful eye on every corner of the house. The once ordinary Tabby had become a symbol of courage and loyalty, his actions reminding everyone of the incredible bond between humans and their pets. The days turned into weeks, and the police continued their surveillance of the warehouse. One evening, just as the sun began to set, Sarah received a phone call. It was the officer in charge of the operation. "We've got him," he said, his voice filled with triumph. "We've apprehended the suspect." Relief washed over Sarah as she hung up the phone and shared the news with Mark. They embraced, the weight of weeks of worry finally lifting from their shoulders. That night, the neighborhood gathered to celebrate, their collective sigh of relief palpable. The intruder was no longer a threat, and the sense of security that had been so elusive was now within reach. Whiskers, basking in the glow of admiration and affection, received countless pats and treats from grateful neighbors. As the festivities continued, Sarah found herself reflecting on the extraordinary events that had unfolded. The courage and loyalty of their beloved cat, the unwavering support of their community, and the shared determination to protect one another had created a tapestry of humanity and hope, and in the center of it all was Whiskers, the unlikely hero who had saved the day. As the Smiths and their neighbors celebrated the capture of the intruder, a renewed sense of unity and security enveloped the community. The collective sigh of relief was palpable, and the joyous atmosphere was a testament to the strength they had found in one another. Whiskers, the unlikely hero, reveled in the attention, accepting treats and pets from everyone with dignified grace. In the weeks that followed, the neighborhood watch continued their patrols, not willing to let their guard down. The community had learned the importance of vigilance and cooperation, and they were determined to maintain the sense of safety they had worked so hard to achieve. The Smiths' home became a gathering point for neighbors, where they would discuss any unusual activities and share updates on the intruder's case. One sunny afternoon, Sarah received a call from the local news station. They wanted to feature Whiskers and the Smith family's story in a segment about heroic pets. Sarah agreed, eager to share their experience and highlight the extraordinary bond between them and their feline protector. The news crew arrived a few days later, setting up cameras and interviewing the family. Whiskers, ever the calm and collected star, sat proudly on Sarah's lap as she recounted the events that had unfolded. The news segment aired later that evening, and the response was overwhelming. Messages of support and admiration poured in from people all over the region, praising Whiskers for his bravery and the Smiths for their resilience. The story of a loyal cat who had protected his family from danger resonated with many, reminding them of the profound connection between humans and their pets. As the days went by, Sarah and Mark found themselves reflecting on the journey they had been through. The fear and uncertainty had brought them closer together, and the support of their community had been a beacon of hope in dark times. They were grateful for the love and loyalty that surrounded them, both from their neighbors and from Whiskers, who had proven time and again that he was more than just a pet. One evening, as the sun set and cast a warm glow over the neighborhood, Sarah and Mark sat on their porch, watching Lily play with Whiskers in the yard. The scene was serene, a stark contrast to the chaos they had faced not long ago. They knew that the intruder's capture had brought a sense of closure, but the experience had also left an indelible mark on their lives. The community's bond had strengthened, forged through adversity and the shared goal of protecting one another. Whiskers continued to be a vigilant guardian, his presence a constant reminder of the courage and loyalty that had kept them safe. As the Smiths looked out over their peaceful neighborhood, they felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey they had been on and the incredible bond that had emerged from it. Together, they knew they could face whatever challenges lay ahead, with Whiskers by their side, ever watchful and loyal. As the Smiths looked out over their peaceful neighborhood, they felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey they had been on and the incredible bond that had emerged from it. Together, they knew they could face whatever challenges lay ahead, with Whiskers by their side, ever watchful and loyal. Life slowly returned to normal, but the experience left a lasting impact on the Smiths and their community. The neighborhood watch remained vigilant, ensuring that the sense of security they had fought for was maintained. Whiskers continued to patrol the house with his keen senses, a constant reminder of the bravery and love that had protected them. One weekend, as the Smiths enjoyed a barbecue with their neighbors, they reflected on the unity that had formed among them. The once fragmented community had become a close-knit family, looking out for one another and finding strength in their shared experiences. The bond they had forged was unbreakable, built on trust, loyalty, and the unwavering courage of a little tabby cat. The Smiths never forgot the night Whiskers had saved Lily from danger. It became a story they would tell for years to come, a tale of heroism and the extraordinary bond between humans and their pets. Whiskers, once an ordinary house cat, had become a symbol of hope and inspiration, showing them all that even the smallest of creatures could make a difference. As the sun set on another peaceful day, Sarah and Mark looked at each other with a sense of contentment. They knew they were incredibly fortunate to have such a loving family and a supportive community. They also knew that the real hero of their story was Whiskers, whose instincts and bravery had protected them from harm. Sarah couldn't help but feel a swell of pride as she watched Lily play with Whiskers in the yard. The bond between them was palpable, a testament to the love and loyalty that had kept them safe. It was a reminder that sometimes heroes come in the most unexpected forms, and that the simplest acts of courage can have the most profound impact. As they enjoyed the warmth of the evening and the laughter of friends and family, the Smiths felt a deep sense of gratitude for the life they had built. They knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, they could face them together, drawing strength from the love and loyalty that had united them. If this story has inspired you, take a moment to appreciate the extraordinary bonds in your own life. Whether it's a loyal pet, a supportive neighbor, or a loving family member, these connections remind us of the strength we find in one another. Celebrate the heroes in your life, and remember that even the smallest acts of courage can make a world of difference.